Hey,
Hey.
What's going on?
All right. So if you clicked on this video, that word abandonment caught you by eye, caught you. You may feel a little trigger, or you just may be curious to know what it is. But before we talk about it, baby, who are we?
We are Terrence and Jill, God-Ordained Union. We've been married for just under 3 years. We got an anniversary coming up soon, so we're definitely psyched about that.
Yep.
So you're definitely at the right place at the right time.
Yep. And so if you are feeling like you're ready for your person, you're ready to be married, it's taking a little bit longer than you thought it would, you wondering what's wrong with me, you're on the right channel, because believe it or not, it could be some things that could be blocking you from your person, things that you are carrying, things that the enemy is specifically and purposely trying to keep you blinded about, things that are that you would be so like oblivious of. The Bible says we have to know the tricks and schemes of the enemy, so we'll know how to outwit him. And so so you're on the right channel, because on this channel, not only do we encourage you and remind you that love is there, and believe it or not, your person is looking for you in the spirit realm. Your person is looking for you. But we also try to help you see some things, again, that could be blocking you, and that could be causing you to keep missing who God has for you, because we have free will. And so that's what this channel is about. We are on a mission to help increase kingdom marriages. And so, yeah, before we get started, it is Heart Health Month in February. And so, which is the recording of this video. And so we just want to remind you, while this month, a lot of people are encouraging you to get your fitness in, getting your walking in, getting your vitamin D in. We want to also remind you to look at the spiritual aspects of your heart, because that is also where a big block could be. A lot of what you're attracting, or even what you are pushing away, is coming from your heart posture. Like what those things, a lot of bitterness could be pushing people away, unforgiveness and resentment, a lot of things that you could be carrying in your heart. So pray that the Lord will cleanse your heart. Search my heart, oh Lord. Search my heart, and clean my heart. And so yeah, so do some heart work. We go live.
We go live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please join us, because, back in the past, we had like a very scripted type of format that we use. But now on Tuesdays, it gives us a chance to respond to you directly.
Yes.
It's a Q&A. It gives you a chance to tell us the questions that you have, the uncertainties that you have. Also, if there's any topics that we may have not even discussed yet that you'd like to hear.
Yeah. Because on this channel, we don't do any marital advice.
No.
We ain't been in it long enough. But we do, we like to believe that we've mastered being single. Yes. I was 52 when I walked down the aisle. I was 50 when I got engaged. So when me and Terrence decided that we were going to be a couple, I was 50. So all that time before I was single. And
all the stuff we went through while we were in God's elevation room, I promise you, it is so many things you're going through right now that we can look at and smile and say, we know exactly where you are.
We know where you are.
We know exactly what you're going through. Because
crying.
Yes. We know
what's wrong with
now.
me.
Yes.
Why is everybody getting married and I'm not? What is going on?
Why am I a day late, $1 short?
Right.
Every time.
Right. Lord, do you hear my prayers? What am I doing wrong? So yeah. But yeah, so hopefully this channel will help you.
Yes, decipher what those things are.
Yes, because God called us to this work, and so we're going to do it. Yeah. All right. So abandonment. So, okay, let me go back. So someone had reached out to us, a subscriber had reached out to us, and she wanted us to discuss our relationships, our courtship, our relationship before we got together.
Yes.
So what my relationship with my ex was, the one right before us and Terrence's relationship right before us. And so I'm not going to talk about mine today, but we thought it was so befitting to talk about Terrence's ex, the woman he dated right before we met, because there was a spirit of abandonment that was very, very high in that relationship. So just for context, I came across Terrence's profile on the dating site in the summer of 2018.
Right.
But Terrence, we didn't start officially talking until well over a year later.
Right.
So 2018, the summer of 2018, I was 48. You had just ended your relationship with that young lady the fall of 2017. So God is so strategic of how he does things. So God did not reveal Terrence to me until
right after that relationship,
like 6 months after that relationship was over. All right, so take them back to how that relationship started and all that stuff.
This is why we've always punched y'all back to God. You have got to be so understanding if you give your relationship future to God, that he's orchestrating things, not just for you, but for the other person, that you are not even, one, you're not even aware who that person is for most part, but two, you don't know what that person's having to go through. So in this case, I was seeing someone that I had been dating for I think we dated for maybe like 2 years. But during that time, at the very beginning,
you met her because you knew her from the past.
I met her from the past. Yeah, I known her for years. I've known of her for years, put it that way. And so when we ran into each other by chance, I ran into her mother. And I knew something was familiar about her mom, but I couldn't remember where I knew her from. And just so happened I was working in a place where a mom came in, and when a mom came back to pick up her possessions, she brought her daughter with her, and that's how we ran into each other. But I say all that to say, in the beginning, when we're on the phone talking, and she's telling me that she has this interest in me, and that she is afraid of being hurt because she had been hurt by guys in the past and how they treated her, and how guys kind of used her for what they wanted, and then they kind of just kicked her to the curb or what have you. So off the gate, in my mind, now, let me say this. I had no idea what the spirit of abandonment was. Okay. I had no idea. All I knew was this is another sob story of a woman feeling like she's been treated bad by men. So I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to be in a relationship with her, I'm going to have to prove, one of the things I need to prove to her is that I'm not going to treat her like the guys in the past did. Right there, I did not know. I took on
an entanglement.
And not only did I take it on, I opened the door for Satan to use it for whatever he wanted. Because I basically said to myself, I'm going to prove to this woman, not knowing that I don't even have the authority to prove anything to her. But I took on that responsibility of saying, I'm going to make sure she knows that her worth is this, and that, and she don't have to be treated like that. She don't have to accept being treated like that. You're not going to leave her. All of that. I'm not going to leave her no matter what. All of this. So I've taken on that responsibility in the beginning, not knowing what I just agreed to and what covenant I just came a part of.
Wow. So just for also some clarity. So the abandonment is a codependency that happens because the person feels like they have been rejected or isolated. And it could come from a whole bunch of, for a lot of women, it comes from relationships, but for a lot of people, period, because it could be a man feeling abandoned as well. But for a lot of people, it could come from childhood trauma. It could come from, it could come from something as simple as parents, having to work all the time,
Yeah.
and you feeling at home by yourself all the time, feeling abandoned, feeling isolated, feeling alone. And so what happens is that spirit festers. And when you do meet someone, there's an unhealthy attachment.
Yeah.
You don't want them to ever leave you. You've got to always hold on. And so from that can come jealousy, definitely trust issues. There is a lot of it is like what you were saying. Okay, so take us, what was the relationship like?
The relationship was
like her character,
touch and go.
What was her type of character?
Her it was touch and go every day. It was always, there's some days where it's like, okay, I'm going to see you at this time, whatever. And then, 5 or 6 minutes into that time, there's already questions of where you at or what you doing, or, well, I'm on my way to meet you. What's it's like, and to me, because I know I haven't done anything, it's like, what's wrong? Well, I was just wondering where you at. You said you was going to meet me at this time. Yeah, I just got off work. I ain't even got into my car yet. You know what I mean? It's like, you got to give me a second to get there. You know what I mean? So it's like, it starts out as little things where I'm not paying attention to what that is. Cause I'm thinking, well, that's just little things. But then it grows to where now you're having arguments about something that, and here's how I'm going to categorize it. We're having arguments about something that's not important to me. Because I know I haven't done anything. I'm not knowing that these are triggers for her. You know what I mean? So I'm not even trying to soothe what that trigger was. I'm basically now defensive about why you're tripping on me when I know I haven't done anything. You know what I mean? So it makes her trigger even that much more offended. And making it like I'm just throwing it back in her face. And I didn't know that's what that was. See, that's why I love these videos, because these things that we're talking about now, I'm just learning what some of it was back when I was going through it. It's like, oh, you got to be kidding. But anyway, so I'm really pushing her further into that trigger, not knowing that I'm triggering her.
You also said when we were talking about her one time, speaking of that relationship, you were saying she was very, she likes to be the center of attention.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned that the spirit of abandonment does, it makes people want attention. They want that security of knowing that people aren't going to leave them, or they want that security of knowing that they are accepted. And what it did for her is it made her want to be center of attention. And so, so now if a guy walked up to her on the street, and said, hey, how you doing? And he actually wants to talk to her, her mindset isn't saying you're in a relationship. You need to let him know that you're not available for him to try to give you a pass at you. But what she would do is accept the pass, thinking it made her feel good because somebody
gave her some attention.
Gave her attention. But what it did was cause more trauma in our relationship, because now I'm having to defend.
That's totally disrespectful.
Yeah, it's like now that's disrespectful to me. And here I am thinking I'm trying to show her that I got her, but I'm also trying to figure out why am I being disrespected every other day? So it was. We're talking about an entanglement.
And it's funny because, of course, I went on her Facebook page. Yes, I did. I went to see who she was. And she's and even till now, she's very flashy, totally not my husband's character. Which goes back to, because you knew her from childhood, it was something, but she's totally flashy. She's very shapely and but very take a picture of me. Take a picture of me. It's totally not my husband's character. But
because I can be in the background, you never even know I'm in the room.
Right. Every hair is in place. It's like, I'm in the camera, you're going to take a picture of me.
It gets to a point where, and I'm going to tell you where where I think it's important to understand. She and I talk all the time in our videos about when I ghosted her. We talk about, when she didn't.
But he really didn't.
I didn't ghost her.
You talking about me? Be clear,
right.
not
I'm talking about when Jill. When we talked about me ghosting Jill in the very beginning of our relationship,
or in the beginning of our encounter. Yeah.
Now, so I was just out of that relationship, but there's a point where Jill talks about how God told her to pray for me. Here's if I can't get y'all to understand the importance of being obedient and including God from the beginning in what you're saying you want, which is a God-Ordained, a kingdom marriage. That is because we both included God in the beginning. What God was doing with her was using her to pray for my situation, because he was trying to get me out of that relationship. But because I had taken a covenant saying to her, I'm never going to leave you, to prove to you that I'm not going to treat you like other guys, I've allowed myself to stay in a season that wasn't for me to stay
longer than.
And I was in there for at least from around 6 months, or if not almost 99 months longer than I should have been, because God was trying to get me out of that relationship by showing me things to say, dude, this ain't the one, this ain't the one. But in my mind, I'm saying, but I got to prove to her, this is another opportunity to prove to her that I'm not going to just treat her like other guys, and I'm going to stay here.
An ungodly covenant.
And yes, and that took me, like I said, almost 6 months to 9 months longer, dealing with situations that I didn't even have to be a part of, that I shouldn't have been a part of if I would have been listening to God.
And so ladies, it is a very important, like, we want to know everything, but some things you just don't. Just be obedient and pray. Because so it was the fall of 2017 when he ended the relationship, and we'll talk about how that ended. But it was it was 6 months after that I came across Terrence on the dating app. But that October, which would have been a year that you had broken up, that next October 2018 is when I had the dream. And I've said this in a couple of videos. I had a dream. Now, me and Terrence, we weren't talking to anything. I just was aware of him. I had a dream that Terrence had come to my house, and he was in my guest bedroom. And he was in my guest bedroom, and the bedroom was dark. And I peeked into the bedroom, and I saw Terrence laying there in the dark. And next to him was a safety pin, and the safety pin was open. And I said in the dream, I said, let me go in here and check on him, and let me close this safety pin, because I didn't want it to continue to poke him. And I closed the safety pin, and I covered him with the blankets, and I went out of the room, and I shut the door so he could rest. And so when I woke up from that dream, the Lord had said, pray for this guy. And that's when I had committed to praying for this guy. I wasn't praying that, Lord, let him be the one. I literally started praying that whatever the situation he was in, not even knowing him, that there was some type of attachment. There was he was going through something. And it wasn't, of course, until years later that I found out that he had committed to being in a relationship with this woman who was dealing with a spirit that had him entangled.
Yeah. By me thinking I'm being a gentleman and showing her strength and showing her security and all this, I partook in something that had nothing to do with me in the beginning.
That you didn't have the power
that I came into, and I didn't have the power to
deliver her
from, or any of that, unless all I could do was pray for her. But I'm thinking, chivalry isn't dead.
So clearly it wasn't a godly relationship.
No, and here's the thing, that we did talk about the word. But again, up to this point in my life, trigger had never been a word I heard of up to that point. I've heard of at that point, I've heard of what the word is, certain types of spirits, curses on your family. But I never heard of individual things like division or abandonment or rejection. Those things up to that point, I had never heard of from a spiritual or from the Bible. I had never spoken to anybody. I'd never even really heard pastors at that point in the churches I went to really talk about those types of things. So they was foreign to me.
So how did the relationship end?
The relationship ended because God is a good God. Let me tell you what he did. The very last conversation she and I had happened to be in front of my son.
Oh, wow.
So guess what? One of the things dad will do for his children is show them what they don't have to subject themselves to if they don't feel that's somewhere to be. And what I did was say, you know what? In my mind, love ain't this hard. And I told my son, right in front of her, I told her she and I were done. But when we finished talking, my son was with me. And when she was no longer in our presence, I was able to tell my son, nobody deserves to be treated this way, male or female. And you have a choice to stay in a situation when you know it's toxic or to get out of it. And I'm choosing to get out of it. And I said, I want you to see this as an example of what not to go through. And that's how I honestly can say right now, if my son hadn't have been with me that particular day, if that would not have been the last time that I spoke to her.
How did she take the news when you said we're done?
Oh, she was straight from the hood. So she went, bonkers. But I was like, but the whole time I was at that point where it's like, no, it doesn't matter what you say, how you say it, I'm done. And it was so easy for me to feel that because my son was there to the point where I didn't even raise my voice. As her voice got louder, the quieter mine got. Because at that point, it just felt like God was saying, I've been trying to tell you to get out of this. And now I'm hearing a voice say, yeah, you don't have to be upset. You don't have to. All you need to do is leave.
Or think you disloyal or think you lied to her.
Yeah, it made it so comfortable for me to just relax, let my heart rate get back down and just say, this has played its last course in my life. And from that point on, I haven't spoken to her again since to this day.
So it makes sense that over a year later, when I quote unquote reached out to you on Facebook and I said, if you are in a relationship or whatever, and then the whole thing, y'all know the story. Some of y'all know the story where we had quote unquote agreed to have a conversation, but you never responded after then, which we like to joke and say he ghosted me, but really that wasn't it. The truth of the matter is that you have been over a year out of a relationship and you were at a point of rest.
Yeah, I was, as a matter of fact, that was probably one of the biggest times of my life of being exactly where I was supposed to be, because that's where, if you read my profile, it says I'm redefining myself. And that's what I was doing. I was actually taking time away from everybody to say, okay, you're out of the relationship, get your personal identity back. Figure out who you are, what you want to stand for, what type of man you want to be, what type of message do you want to send moving forward when it comes to relationships. And it got to a point where part of that identity was saying, I'm no longer accepting any type of relationship from any person that isn't telling me from the gate that they would like to be married one day. And I wasn't doing anything casual. It was, from that point, it was, no, if this doesn't have a possibility of going into something, then I'm not even starting.
And even the part of the introspection, which we talked about before, of how did I even attract that type of person?
Exactly.
How did I even attract that character? And that now that we know, how do I even attract to someone who had the spirit of abandonment? How do I even attract that?
And I can honestly say I stepped into that one with both feet. You know what I mean? With my mouth open,
your
with
eyes open,
my eyes open, saying, I accept this. No, I'm going to prove to you that ain't how you are treated. That ain't how you should be treated. Not knowing that I was walking into something that wasn't even my battle. Yeah, I jumped into that one. So it's almost like you can say, oh, you deserve what you got. Yeah. Because you jumped in there
knowing what you was dealing with.
And we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And that was a perfect example for me to learn that I didn't know everything that I was agreeing to at the time that I agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I can tell you, the spirit of abandonment, and I can even say this, it can probably get a lot worse than what it got for me. You know what I mean? Being that I work a lot, there are times where I probably didn't see her because I chose to work overtime or go in on a day that I was not scheduled to work or something. And it could have been even more incidents.
So it was like a 2-year relationship?
Yeah, it was like a 2-year relationship.
Woo!
So it's like, it could have been worse probably if I didn't work as much as I was doing at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you dodged the bullet. That's how we know that there's a God.
That's why when I say, yeah, she don't know what she was what her prayer was doing in my life. But at the time going through it, I didn't know that there was an angel praying for me either.
Ladies, while you're single, pray for that future husband. You don't know what battles he's dealing with right now.
Who he is, where he is.
Yes, who he's entangled with, what spirit he's entangled with, what spirit he got a covenant with, an ungodly covenant. I'm not talking about marriage, but I'm talking about things that he's in a relationship, with someone that got him trapped. That is the enemy. So when I say pray, there's a video we got up that we have on here. Go to our playlist. The 3 things, I think it's 3 things you need to be or 5 things you need to be praying for your future spouse, because you don't know what he is dealing with unknowingly that you have no clue about. We like to think that we know everything, but we don't. Be obedient and pray.
If we're being honest with ourselves, we can go back throughout our life and realize that a lot of the decisions we made, it wasn't based upon us having 100% of the information that we thought we had.
Yeah.
It's things that we learn later when we reflecting. That's why it's so important that from this day forward, if you're telling yourself that you want to be in a kingdom marriage, then the first thing you got to do is be honest with yourself and stop casually dating. You need to date purposely from now on, with having God order your steps and having God order the steps of the person that you're going into a relationship.
And if you are attracting quote unquote negativity or negative men or negative women, if you're men watching this, that is the first indication that you need some deliverance in an area. You need some type of deliverance.
You're not seeing, something that you're unaware of.
Right.
Because again, in my situation, I jumped in that like Tarzan, thinking I was doing her justice when I was doing myself a disjustice. Oh my goodness.
You talking about an entanglement. Yeah. A spirit of abandonment I think rejection is worse, but abandonment is a spirit that is very codependent. And when it attaches to you,
and like you said,
it is there to try to keep you bound. Like you literally.
Like you said, it ain't necessarily abandonment, may not have to do with another guy abandoning you in a relationship. It can be one of your parents passed away when you was a child.
Yes.
And you just never knew how to deal with it because you
it could be losing a parent to death or and feeling abandoned. Especially, it could be a parent that a mom who got remarried and you feel like that her new relationship is, and she had other kids and you feeling abandoned.
Yeah.
It could
It
be
could be any of those.
yes, any of those. And so you got to deal with that because you're probably having unhealthy friendships as well because you're so codependent. Or the flip side of that is that you are isolated. You won't let nobody in because that abandonment got you so on an island by yourself. You won't let nobody in. And so,
the reason why you got to ask God for deliverance is because each one of those can take a different tactic. All abandonment isn't the same.
It's not. So no spirit is the same.
It can't be handled just generically like, okay, we're just going to say this and this. You have to be very specific when you're being delivered. And only God can do that for you.
Only God. Only God. Only God. You wonder why people keep leaving you. Mm-hmm. You might be dealing with the spirit of abandonment.
Wonder why you can't find any peace. What did you agree to be a part of that you don't even know is keeping you from your peace?
Yeah. All right. There you have it. I'm glad you are out of that because you got a totally different relationship now. She ain't nothing like me. It's funny because I stay, because the only relationship I really know of is your ex-wife. And we kind of, she was a professional. She's retired now, but she was a professional. We got the same. We both natural. We got the same look. Like we literally, Terrence's daughter looked like she could be my daughter or his ex-wife daughter.
If you put them two together, you would assume they was related.
So you could tell, right? And so a lot of times, we look at his ex-wife like, I was like, we could be related.
Yeah,
like
so you only say those two, you think I have a specific type.
He has a specific type. Yeah. But when I saw the one before me, I'm like, oh, he definitely settled. He definitely downgraded because she is just nothing like me or his ex-wife. But God delivered you.
But that's why, again, when we talk about prayer, when we talk about God, we're not just trying to say, oh, we want to talk religion and we're going to throw you guys on, church and the Bible. That ain't what we're saying. What we're saying is there's a way to do this in a way that you're going to have so much happiness and bliss in your life moving forward because this puts you on a whole nother level. But if God created love, how in the world do you expect to find true love if you don't include the creator of love?
That's right.
So all we're saying is, if I'm going to get a haircut, I'm going to a barbershop.
That's it.
I'm not going to the grocery store and asking for a haircut.
That's right.
So put God in your life.
Yes.
Tell him what you want and be obedient to what his response is.
Yes. And start creating entanglements and stop being in entanglements.
Yes.
All right. So with that being said,
we holler at you guys on the next one.
Yes. Deuces.